Hello, everyone. My name is Lauren Jan Cadavedo Swan, and today we are going to discuss about the novel Things Fall Apart, written by Chinua Achebe. And that is Chinua Lumugu Achebe. He was considered by many critics and teachers to be the most influential African writer of his generation. Why do you think so? Because his writings, including this novel, have introduced readers throughout the world to creative uses of language and form, as well as to factual inside accounts of modern African life and history. Not only through his literary contributions, but through his championing of both objectives for Nigerian and African, he helped reshape the perception of African history, culture, and place in world affairs. And this is his first novel and is considered or recognized as a literary classic and is taught and read everywhere in the English speaking world. The novel is actually translated into at least 45 languages and has sold several million copies. And this novel has actually won the Margaret Wong Memorial Prize. It is actually a very, very good novel. And the author was born on November 16, 1930 at Igbo in eastern Nigeria. In Achebe's early years, Nigeria was under in a British colony. And that is Prince Albert, the husband of Queen Victoria of Great Britain. The parents of Chinua was named him into Albert after Prince Albert. But during his college years, he used his Igbo name, which is Chinua. And yes, Achebe received many awards from academic and cultural institutions around the world. In the year 1959, he won the Margaret Wong Memorial Prize for The Things Fall Apart. And the following year, after the publication of its sequel, No Longer at Ease, he was awarded the Nigerian National Trophy for Literature. Okonkwo earned respect through his farming and wrestling. His fame rested on personal achievements. As a young man of 18, he had brought honor to his village by throwing Amalinsi the cat. Okonkwo was as slippery as a fish in water. It is actually stated in the first page of the novel. Despite all of his personal achievements, things begin to go downhill for Okonkwo as the book goes on. He is banished from the tribe for 7 years for a terrible accident caused by him, and it was during this time imperialism begins. Okonkwo returns only to find his tribe overrun by the English. Okonkwo was a troubled character with a fear of failure and an inability to control his anger and swallow his pride. He was so focused on success, he failed to realize his own personal flaws. This is what ultimately led to his demise. Okonkwo is outraged to find out that even his son, Nuoye, is taken in by the new religion being introduced to his tribe. This is when Okonkwo's anger gets the best of him and he kills the district commissioner. When he finds out no one is in support of him, he commits suicide. This novel, Things Fall Apart, is actually a tale of tragedy and the despair of a fallen hero. So we do have the character. Of course, novel won't go out without any characters, and we have Okonkwo. He is actually the central character of the Things Fall Apart. He is known as a fierce warrior as well as a successful farmer. He is determined to overcome the stigma left by his father's laziness and wastefulness. We have Unuka. This is Okonkwo's father. Known for his weakness and lack of responsibility, he is often referred to as Agbala. Agbala means it is someone who resembles the weakness of a woman and has no property. And we have Nue, Okonkwo's oldest son, and he is innately sensitive young man. Kimifuna, a boy of 14 who is given to Mufeya by a neighboring village to avoid war. He is such a clever, resourceful young man who befriended Nue. And we have Ikwife, Okonkwo's second wife, the mother of Izinma, her only living child. Izinma, the daughter of Ikwife and Okonkwo, Ikwife's only surviving child. Okonkwo most often dreamed that Izinma should have been a boy. And we have Ujiobu. He is Okonkwo's third wife, the mother of several of Okonkwo's children. And Ubirika. This is Okonkwo's best friend, who often represents the voice of reason. He is the father of Maduka and Ikwike. And Cielo, a village widow who is also the priestess of Agbala. And Agbala, as I said a while ago, the oracle of the hills and the caves, who influences all aspects of Umufian life. She is based on the real oracle at Auka, who controlled Igbo life for centuries. And Mr. Brown, who is actually a member of a white man. Mr. Brown, the first white Christian missionary in Amafea and Imbanta, an understanding and accommodating man. He is inclined to listen to the Igbos. And we have Mr. Kiyaka, the native interpreter for the missionaries. He is a teacher and a leader of the new church in Imbanta. Mr. Kiyaga's language is actually different, much different from the native Igbo societies. And we have Reverend James Smith, a strict, stereotypical white Christian missionary. He takes over the church after Mr. Brown's departure. And the district commissioner. This is a stern, stereotypical white colonial administrator of Omofea. He follows regulations to the letter and possesses little knowledge or understanding of the people for whom he tries to administer a new government. And we do have the settings. The Omofea and Imbanta villages of the Igbo tribe in Nigeria around 1900. The setting in Nigeria around the turn of the 19th century is extremely important. It allows a conquest life to straddle the pre and post European era. Because he experiences both periods, we, the reader, have a window into the dramatic changes that occurred in Igbo culture and society as a result of imperialism. We also see two different courts in justice. In the traditional Igbo system of justice, villagers bring their complaint to a group of nine leaders dressed as masked gods, and the group jointly and publicly settles disputes. However, when the white men arrive, they set up their own court which settles disputes in favor, of course, of the highest bidder and isn't above secretly ambushing respected clansmen who come to court to have a civilized discussions. These are only a few examples of how the temporal setting allows for clear and easy comparison between the Igbo way of life before and after the arrival of Europeans. The physical setting of the forest are extremely very important. This clan have an elaborate religious system largely based on their natural environment. Surrounded by dense, dark woods, the forest is both respected and feared as a chief god, the evil forest. Now the earth goddess is also revered and feared. As farmers, the clan rely completely on the produce of the land and are subject to drought and flooding. The earth goddess is seen as in control of the weather and productivity of the land. So much of the clan's social structure is set around not displeasing the earth crimes. The earth the author's description of the isolation of the Omofea people and their complete dependence on their natural setting make their culture and practices understandable to a Western audience. And of course, we have the themes. Themes are actually the fundamental and often universal ideas explored in a literary work. It is the driving force of the book during its creation. Even if the author doesn't consciously identify an intended theme, the creative process is directed by at least one controlling idea, a concept or belief or purpose significant to the author. The theme guides the author by controlling where the story goes, what the characters do, what mood is portrayed, and what style evolves, and also the emotional effects the story will create in the reader. And we do have the struggle between change and tradition. This novel deals with how the prospect and reality of change affect various characters. Okonkwo, for example, resists new political and religious orders because he feels that they are not manly and that he himself will not be manly if he consents to join or even tolerate them. Okonkwo's cultural change is also due to his fear of losing social status. Now, the villagers in general are caught between resisting and embracing change, and they face the dilemma of trying to determine how best to adapt to the reality of change. Throughout the novel, Achibi shows how dependent such traditions are upon storytelling and language, and they show how quickly the abandonment of the Igbo language for English could to the eradication of these traditions. And we also have varying interpretations of masculinity. Okonkwo's relationship to his late father shapes off his violent and ambitious character. He wants to rise above his father's legacy of spendthrift, indolent behavior which he views as weak and therefore effeminate. This association is inherent in the clan's language. It is mentioned that the word for a man who has not taken any titles is agbala, which also means woman. He associates masculinity with aggression and feels that only anger is the emotion he should display. Now, Ubirika, unlike the Konpo, was a man who thought about things. Whereas Ubirika refuses to accompany the man on the trip to kill Kimifuna, Okonkwo not only volunteers to join the past that they will execute his surrogate son, but he also violently stabs him, simply because he is afraid of appearing weak. Now that I have told you those things, I hope you have learned something and thank you.